What have I done?
Fight me.
If you don't quite understand what I've just done by putting Meta Knight at only number 10, let me explain. People freaking love this guy. He's a favourite of a lot of people, and it's not too hard to see why. How about those competitive brawlers, the people who form those pointless tier lists? Well, to them, Meta Knight is literally in a class of his own. There's good characters in the A tier, and then in the S tier, probably meaning Supreme or Stupendous or Sex God or something, Meta Knight is chilling out on his own. He's just that good. So the big question right now is, why on earth is such an incredible character barely scraping into the top 10? Well, Meta Knight's positives come in many forms, including great mobility with many different recovery moves and some decent power behind him as well. With his multiple floaty jumps, you can keep your opponents under some ridiculous pressure, and the best Meta Knight players will give their foes no chance whatsoever. It's the ultimate dominating game. But there's a big problem with Meta Knight that I can't shake off. Using Meta Knight feels very fluid and very easy, but it means that I don't really have to try very hard to do well with him. And that actually means that I kind of get bored when using him, especially when there's not a lot of diversity in his moves. There's also the fact that I feel bad when using him, almost like he's the, I don't want to be creative, I just want to pick a character that's nearly brain dead easy to use. It's like using Oddjob from GoldenEye, just because you want to be a dick. Yeah, I know, grow a spine in your own time and mercy is for the weak, but Meta Knight is not a character that I like using against human opponents. Granted, Meta Knight is still fantastic in just about every way, and he fully deserves his spot on the favourite lists of others and the top list on the tier lists, but he doesn't find himself at the top of mine. For the 7 people who are still watching this after seeing Meta Knight that low, I've always preferred Smash Bros Melee over Brawl. While Brawl was better on an absolute technical level, Melee just seemed a little smoother when it came down to the important business of fighting. There was one character that epitomised this sentiment more than any other and is still a proper favourite of mine to this day. It is of course the long lost but never forgotten Roy. How had to get rid of Roy to make room for Ike, because 2 Fire Emblem characters based on fire would just be way too similar, even though the characters share very few characteristics. I mean, for a kickoff, through screenshots and early footage, I thought that Roy was a girl, with all that long hair, as you do. But seriously, the differences between Ike and Roy are impossible to ignore. While Ike is a lumbering brute, Roy is a strong and yet surprisingly speedy alternative, and it results in some devastating potential if you know how to use him. Obviously, like Ike, he hasn't got a boomerang or, God forbid, bombs, so you're restricted to close range combat, but thankfully, with his potent strength and his quick turn of pace, taking on opponents head to head is made much easier. When you immediately start using Roy having used Ike for a while, the difference between the two is just staggering. Of course, like Meta Knight, you are heavily reliant on getting in your opponent's face and giving it a hefty smack, and when they know you're coming, they can easily plan for it and counter. But that's okay, because like Ike, Roy has his own counter, resulting in some proper scraps if both players are going at it. So Namco Bandai, I'm sure you're very busy working away at the new Smash Bros game, but if you could just, slip Roy in there, I'd appreciate it. Hey, I need some good news. My Chemical Romance broke up recently and that made me very sad.
Show me your moves!
Yeah, you know where this is going. Captain Falcon sums up everything that's good about the Smash Bros series. The concept is a little stupid, having the most popular Nintendo-based characters duke it out, but add someone like Captain Falcon into the mix, and the ridiculous levels increase tenfold. You have the manliest of manly men, screaming and shouting like an aerodynamic Johnny Bravo, all while knocking the crap out of all the other characters. How can you not just love that? Okay, there may be the problem that Captain Falcon isn't that good of a character. He's a strictly physical fighter with absolutely no ranged attacks to speak of, but when your attacks are made of fire, you start to care a little bit less about getting hit by opponents. Caring about getting hit is for mortals, and when you can attack someone with your flaming foot, you are something far above a mortal. I think that's the biggest selling point for Captain Falcon. He's just a bucket load of fun to use. He might not be the most versatile character out there that everyone is going to use because he's just so good, but he's one of those characters I just go to when I want to fuck about. When I want to get in there and cave some faces in, cause to hell with what happens afterwards, I'm here to dick about and there's nothing you can do about it. Which brings me nicely to the Falcon Punch. If there's one thing that immediately springs to mind when talking about or using Captain Falcon, it's the move that sums up his over-the-top personality in the form of the Falcon Punch. If you're watching this video, I'm pretty sure you know what a Falcon Punch is, so I won't bother explaining it. But if there's one thing I strive to do every time I take Captain Falcon out for a spin, it's to pull off a successful Falcon Punch. You will never, I repeat, never tire of getting the timing perfect, getting the distance just right, and sending opponents flying in one of the most satisfying ways in the series. Because son, my fist is on fire. What have you got? Back in the land of the N64 Smash Bros, when you're picking out the franchises to represent in the game, you inevitably land at Pokemon. By the time that the original Smash Bros came out, Pokemon was already starting to make a name for itself, and the anime was gathering a decent audience. And of course, everybody wanted a Pikachu, because Pikachu is the shit. So by the time people saw that Pikachu was in the game, fans of the shows and the games, both of which were still in their infancy by the way, immediately flocked towards that little yellow mouse because he's just so damn lovable. Why wouldn't you want to play as Pikachu? Rather than just be a cutesy character with much substance, which is pretty much the case with Pichu and Jigglypuff, even if Jigglypuff isn't that cute. Why am I talking about Pokemon being cute? Rather than just being a character you use because it's adorable, Pikachu is a serious force to be reckoned with. Smash Dojo refers to Pikachu as a super balanced character, but he's so much more than that. He's almost a little broken actually. Pikachu is pretty much the stronger but slightly, and I do mean slightly, slower version of Pichu. Except Pikachu doesn't hurt itself when attacking and isn't generally shit. Pikachu has a bunch of attacks that serve to annoy your opponents and rack up the damage really quickly. He almost works like Sonic would do if he had a bit more power and was fat, I guess. Pretty much all of Pikachu's smash attacks deal rapid damage and with some to multiple opponents at once. And don't even get me started on Thunder, one of the most spammable moves in the game. I mean, it's good, but it's almost too good to the point where you can just throw yourself around the stage and be a little yellow nuisance. Holy shit, it's so annoying. The connection between Pikachu and Sonic actually makes more sense the more I think about it. I never really liked Sonic because he seemed too down on power, something that Pikachu makes up, with attacks that hit opponents multiple times. Sonic is also very centered around hit and run tactics, something made very easy by Pikachu's speed and variety of recovery moves. And their kicker comes in the final smashes. While Sonic's is absolutely devastating, it can be very hard to control due to the fact that you're going really fast. Pichu's trades speed for floaty controls and for being ever so slightly less brainless. It's a weird comparison to make, but I feel it illustrates my point well. Most of the characters on this list I can write a fairly decent script for. I can explain the pros and the cons and how they affect my enjoyment of that character. This is the template I used for this countdown, and until now it's been pretty effective. But at some point I was always going to run into Wario. So I've now got the task of trying to explain a character as sporadic, as completely batshit insane as Wario, and why I like playing as him. Wait, didn't I just answer that question? As a character, Wario is just about as unpredictable as you could possibly hope to imagine, and he has so many different moves that reflect this fact. He's got his bike stowed away somewhere so he can drive around mowing people down, and holy mother of God, you've got to have respect for a guy that goes around killing people by farting on them. This impulsiveness is really well represented from the WarioWare games, and if you've played any one of them, you'll know that Wario in Brawl is actually kind of tame. Not that that's a bad thing, I'm fine with that. If you can get a grasp of Wario's unpredictability, then you very quickly become a force to be reckoned with. It's likely opponents won't really know what you're going to do next, so you can mix and match all of Wario's very versatile moves. I suppose the only thing he lacks is a natural projectile move, but if you blow up the Wario bike, you can always just use that. So Wario is suited to a wide variety of situations and fighting styles, so he's very easy to pick up and play. but enjoyably challenging to master. I still haven't managed it after 5 years of playing the game. But like Ike, I mainly favour Wario because of his insane final smash. It's another one of those final smashes that alters the way the character plays, rather than just giving him a crazy move that you activate and do nothing afterwards. Wario's final smash sees him eat a clove of garlic to become Wario Man, and then after that, I have absolutely no idea. Wario Man is so fast, so powerful, it's a flurry of a flying purple fat man that is, yes, very hard to control sometimes, but so much fun to use. I'm tempted to say that this is my favourite final smash, because it's adding more stupidity on an already asinine character. I mean, let's just compare the difference between Wario's bite before and during Wario Man. Without the garlic, Wario just kinda trundles along, smacking some bitches along the way, but under the influence of Wario Man, and it just becomes the most ridiculous spectacle in the game. How could you not love this? Just look at it!
Sudden death. Go!
Show me your moves. Show me your moves. Show me your moves. Show me your moves. Falcon!